Hi guys, welcome to another lesson. Today I'm going to explain the 2-5-1 progression and demonstrate how you can construct them. So the 2-5-1 is a very commonly used progression, heard extensively throughout jazz music. You can get both major and minor 2-5-1s, but for this lesson we're just going to focus on the major 2-5-1. So to begin, let's build a 2-5-1 in the key of C major. So if we take the C major scale, we need to build a 7th chord from each note. This gives us C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G 7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, and then C major 7 again. So these are all the chords belonging to the key of C major, and in a 2-5-1 progression we just use chord 2 followed by chord 5 followed by chord 1, hence the name 2-5-1. So in the key of C major, our 2 chord is a D minor 7, our 5 chord is a G7, and our 1 chord is a C major 7. So in its most basic form, in root position, this is a major 2-5-1. However, you wouldn't really want to play it like this because of the big jumps between the chords. They make it sound very disjointed and it doesn't sound that great. So what we want to do is to play different inversions of each chord to create as little movement as possible between each chord. This concept is called voice leading, which is where we reduce the hand movement between chords and always move to the closest possible position of each chord. This achieves a much smoother sound, which is much more pleasing to the ear. So coming back to our 2-5-1 progression, if we play the D minor 7 chord in root position, instead of jumping to the root position of our G7, we can just drop the top 2 notes down to give us our G7. These are the exact same notes as we had before, but we're just playing the chord in its second inversion. And from here, we can drop the bottom 2 notes down to get our C major 7 chord. So all together, you should be able to hear that this sounds much better than jumping to the root position of each chord. So that's the first step of learning the 2-5-1. Next up, we will look at some different rootless voicings we can use. So rootless voicings are chords that are played without the root. They sound much more professional and they can create a much smoother voice leading between chords. In the context of a 2-5-1, there are 2 main types of rootless voicings, and we can call them type A and type B. So let's begin with type A. For this type, our D minor 7 chord will have the 3rd at the bottom and also include the 9th. So we're going to play F, A, C and E. The 3rd, 5th, 7th and 9th. Now to get to the 5 chord, all we have to do is drop the 7th down a half step. So we drop the C down to a B, and this gives us a G13. We have a 7th, a 9th, a 3rd, and the 13th. And then to get to the 1 chord, we play a rootless type A voicing for a C major 7. So we have a E, a G, B, and D, the 3rd, 5th, 7th and 9th. So these rootless voicings for a 2-5-1 progression create a really nice sound, and the small amount of movement between each chord makes a really nice texture. You also want to be able to play this with your left hand, so I advise practicing that as well. So moving on to type B voicings, instead of playing our D minor 7 like this, we want to move the top 2 notes down to the bottom. And this gives us a type B rootless voicing for D minor 7. And this time, to get to a G13, we just drop the 7th down a half step, exactly like we did before. So that's moving the C down to a B. And that takes us to G13. And then to get to a C major 7, we just drop the top 3 notes down. Again, you're going to want to practice this in your left hand as well. So let's look at this in the key of G major. Our chords would be A minor 7, D7 and G major 7. So for the type A voicings, we would have this. And for our type B voicings, we would have this. Again, in D major, our chords would be E minor 7, A7 and D major 7. For the type A voicings, we would have this. And for our type B voicings, we would have this. So I recommend practicing this in several different keys, and also practice them with both your right and left hands. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment box below. I'll see you in another lesson.